We're at a watershed in American public higher education. It's been a really interesting dynamic. For so long, the state subsidized state universities at high levels, at 75, 85%. And the argument was that it was a public good, that it benefited everyone. I, of course, spent a lot of time in California. That was true of the University of California system, but it was equally true of the University of North Carolina system. It's no surprise that the research triangle ends up where it is. It doesn't happen by happenstance. It happens because you had tremendous human capital there, and you had a supply of new human capital there at high levels. What's happened, of course, is the states have decided to disinvest in higher public education at significant rates, and the costs have really been passed on to the students and their families. For schools like ours and many others in the system, it's really difficult to fill in that gap. And on top of it, our students tend to, on average, be of more modest means. So there's greater need, and we have less ability to generate external revenue. So we have to be creative in what we do. And that's the challenge, I think, for many public universities. So this is a real challenge, and it's a challenge to the American people, and it's a challenge to the people of the state of North Carolina. Do you want to invest in public education, higher public education, because it is an engine of workforce development, it is an engine of revenue generation, it is an engine of innovation? Or do you want to leave it to chance that somehow, magically, we will be able to subsidize ourselves? These are tough trade-offs. But I think fundamentally, you have to ask yourself, what's your return on your investment? And I think the history of North Carolina proves that there's been a high ROI on public education, higher public education in particular. It's been one of the great university systems in the world. To see the potential for it to be corroded is a shame, in my opinion. We're mindful of costs, we're mindful of efficiencies, but we're not making widgets. We are not making widgets. We are trying to train young minds to be analytical. We're trying to train young people to communicate, to learn how to collaborate, and to give them some skills. In our case, it's nurses and educators and business people. We really try to give them skills, but we're doing it in the interest of the public good. I think we have to continue to ask ourselves, what's the right investment to make? It is at a watershed period. We know now that having a college degree is essentially the entry barrier to the workplace. Where the jobs are where critical thinking is required, where reading is required, where writing is required, where oral presentation is required, and where some mastery of skill is required. That's what we do at places like this. So I'm an advocate.